The situation we are in is totally incredible. We have no agreement. We do not even have a plan on stopping global warming, on stopping climate change, or on stopping ocean acidification. Changing the climate is the ultimate human rights issue and the ultimate human rights abuse. And that is the nature of the crime. We have global warming, and we have climate disruption, and we have ocean acidification, all ongoing as an inevitable result from continued greenhouse gas pollution up into the atmosphere. These cause more air pollution, more extreme weather, droughts and floods, more disease, reduced agricultural production, increasing over time melting glaciers, loss of available water, and sea level rise. These are all impacts documented by the 2007 assessment of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They are predicted, they will happen. Indeed, they are happening already. The first place we'll go for documented evidence is the United Nations, to the United Nations Secretariat for the Framework Convention on Climate Change. I am quoting now from a document on the UNFCCC website. There is overwhelming scientific evidence as shown in the fourth assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that climate change will threaten the very survival of the most vulnerable populations, the greatest ever crime against humanity. Under the heading A Question of Degree, the documents of the Secretariat have this to say: even the minimum predicted shifts in climate for the 21st century are likely to be significant and disruptive. Predictions of future climate impacts show that the consequences could vary from disruptive to catastrophic. Very clear evidence there, and when the Secretariat is referring to catastrophic, they're referring to the upper temperature projection range of the IPCC, which right now we're on. Under the heading of World Under Stress, the Secretariat gets into even more detailed evidence. A future of more severe storms and floods along the world's increasingly crowded coastlines is likely and will be a bad combination, even under the minimum scenarios forecast. Environmental damage such as overgrazed rangeland, deforested mountainsides, and denuded agricultural soils means that nature will be more vulnerable than previously to changes in climate. Yet those to suffer most from climate change will be in the developing world. They have fewer resources for coping with storms, with floods, with droughts, and with disease outbreaks, and with disruptions of food and water supplies. So no question, the worst ever crime against humanity. This last section here that I'm going to quote from the documents of the UNFCCC Secretariat is particularly important. This is food security. And this aspect of this greatest ever crime is particularly abhorrent. I quote, "A general reduction is expected, note expected, in potential crop yields in most tropical and subtropical regions. Mid-continental areas such as the United States grain belt and vast areas of Asia are likely to dry." So what this means is that the big grain suppliers of the world, suppliers to the food deficient regions such as Africa, their potential is going to reduce and prices are going to skyrocket, and there'll be no food available at anything that people can afford in these African and most climate change vulnerable and poverty stricken regions, and they're just going to starve. The other thing, of course, which is going to happen when the potential and the food output of the big grain producing regions starts to get compromised, is that when food deficient areas, their crops fail altogether, there'll be no likelihood of food aid being delivered as happens today. This just isn't going to happen if we allow this situation to develop. These people, these populations will starve. Where dryland agriculture relies solely on rain, as in sub-Saharan Africa, Yields would decrease dramatically in regions, even with minimal increases in temperature. So global warming and climate disruption are going to hit Africa horribly hard, and it will be disastrous and then become catastrophic for these populations. Such changes could cause disruptions in food supply in a world that is already afflicted with food shortages and famines. And so we're going to get more food shortages and more famines in these regions. Saltwater intrusion from rising sea levels will reduce the quality and quantity of fresh water supplies. This is a major concern since billions of people already lack access to fresh water. Higher ocean levels already are contaminating underwater water sources. Worst ever crime against humanity. Returning to the critical aspect of the climate change greenhouse gas science, today's global average temperature increase of 0.8 degrees C is already determined to double. It is committed to double. So for these most vulnerable populations, they are already at 1.6 degrees C. At least. That increase is going to last for over 1,000 years because of the inertia of the climate system. Once again, we certainly don't need any more evidence to understand and to know that the worst ever crime against humanity is thoroughly proven by the official documents